just want to start off and say that this video is not to scare anyone. It is not to put fear into anyone's hearts. I guess I'm gonna try to keep my thoughts together. I don't actually have notes on on some of this. I do have some references that I've put together on Twitter. It will later be added to our website. Just so you guys know, Dex is spending time with family over the Thanksgiving holiday. He didn't really have as much time to spend with them, and of course, as you guys know, a lot of people have different schedules and traveling is really hard right now. So, which, speaking of that, we'll get to that here in a minute. So if you were not aware, over the weekend there was a lot of strange things happening on Saturday or Friday or both. Several streamers and several people that essentially follow Flight Radar were seeing a lot of strange things. Now, if you don't know what Flight Radar is, it's an app that basically tracks all sorts of, it basically tracks anything with a transponder, planes, military, police, whatever's in the sky, it usually tracks. Now, I want to say it was Saturday, it could have been Friday. I was actually told that a lot of this stuff would start on December 3rd. I believe possibly on the 4th or 5th. There were a lot of military planes up. Now this, multiple people who watch these apps that, watch this every day, that, would normally say, oh, well, there's military planes up in the sky all the time. Even those people were amazed at what they saw. I actually first saw some of the screenshots of the original video from a YouTuber called Off Grid Farming, I believe. But it was 14, what I want to say, C-130s in a row. Either way, there were a ton of cargo planes. In fact, I'll post that again over on my Twitter. Is a screenshot of the 14 cargo planes in a row. They were doing massive drills. None of them announced that I can see, and I really dug deep to see if there was any kind of public Air Force drill, anything. What I did find was some interesting stuff. So first of all, in November, a lot of stuff happened, especially when you're talking about planes, jets, military, everything else. Obviously, we are waiting for China to take Taiwan, and we're waiting for Russia to take Ukraine. Those things are basically being kind of prepared for at the same time. Now, when you look at November, a few things that were really interesting happened early in November. China banned the app Flight Radar, which is what the app we're talking about that tracks all these things. Not only that, they actually went out and tried to get rid of the ADS-B devices that help Flight Radar work. They went through, China, and they basically tried to get rid of these, or said that we're banning these. And they said it was because it was a national security risk. At the same time, the U.S. is announcing on November 6th, they were talking about, this is about exactly a month ago, they were talking about how they were testing launching nuclear missiles out of cargo jets. In fact, they took a C-5 Galaxy and they launched an ICBM out of it. They just dropped one out of it. That's not, I don't believe that's totally usual. But after talking to a few Air Force guys, they said that basically we're looking at the biggest conflict we have ever seen in our entire lives. This would be, we've looked at the numbers before. You're talking about China of 1.4 billion people. Their military just absolutely ginormous as well. You're talking about Russia. And then, of course, India has now been doing drills with Russia and possibly China. Really weird stuff since they were enemies. All of these kind of things are going on. In the last couple of months, we've had several instances where some strange stuff happened in the waterways, where sensors that would normally detect subs were taken out. You had, of course, off of the West Coast, you've had some serious things happen. You've had the submarine that actually hit ground or whatever else, and China was very persistent about the U.S. releasing what really happened. You have China over by the South China Sea and by Taiwan doing all these drills. They're loading up. They're physically loading up all of this crazy stuff. They're spending billions of dollars on this preparation to take Taiwan. At the same time, you have Russia. Essentially, now you've got at least 3 countries, including ours, saying that they don't know if Russia is actually planning to invade. At the same time, you've got Ukrainian president saying that they are planning on invading and that it would be in January, February. Now, I'm not putting a date on this. This was, of course, the Ukrainian president and the intel they got. Now, when you look at everything that's happening right now, it's pretty clear to see that something massive is going on. Now, back to the 14 cargo planes that were there, they weren't the only ones. All over the United States, it lit up like Christmas trees as far as all of the military action. Some of the other YouTubers got tons and tons of screenshots of this, and it's absolutely, it's actually astonishing. I'm gonna try to take a breath here and make sure that people know I'm not trying to scare people, but I do think that the majority of people in this country, the majority of you guys know that something is coming. You've been watching this. You've been watching things go downhill. But I believe that the majority of the United States is in a slumber, and they're not paying attention to what is actually going on. They're so caught up in what is going to affect them personally, as far as everything that's going on around us, as far as all of this other stuff. It has us completely discombobulated and arguing and divided. I mean, if you wanted to conquer a country, if you physically wanted to invade a country, you would want them as divided and completely broken apart as you possibly could. And that's where, you know, some of the theories of, you know, did we already get infiltrated? Did WW3 already start? We had, of course, solar winds. We had cyber attacks on all 5 of our military branches. We had very questionable things happen as far as who was placed where and you know, who's here and who's there. At the same time, the second that we had, you know, a new crew in, they undid a lot of protections. The previous admin basically put in all of these orders, emergency orders, to basically harden our grid. For some reason, a lot of those were either undone or they started the process to try to undo that. Why would you take something that has really no downfall other than a tiny amount of money compared to this just gigantic spending bill? Why would you try to take the protections back? I'm specifically talking about the protections on EMP. You know, they wanted to harden the entire grid. Now they're trying to kind of undo some of that or start the process to, and they straight up did undo some of the stuff that they were going to do. Back to the sky. In the last few months, we've told you, we've covered this. They are practicing landing those same big cargo jets on U.S. highways for the first time in U.S. history. These are all things you have to take into account. You have them landing jets. You have them landing all these kind of things. You have Taiwan doing the same thing. So when you see in the public eye that they're saying that they're not going to stand up for Taiwan, or you see the president talking about, you know, one China policy and this and that, people are very confused. They're seeing that you know, we're going to support in other ways or this. Nobody's quite sure if we're actually going to stand up. Well, I'll tell you this, there are other countries in this world that will stand up, not only for Taiwan, but for Ukraine. You know, there's people from both of those countries all over the world. And I assure you that if we lost, if we let Russia take another place, and a huge place, again, now they're talking about them taking the whole place up or whatever, or even one county or one city or one province or whatever they call them there, that would be a huge deal. As far as like them taking something like that is absolutely insane. And it would be a huge mark on the United States, on everything. If we actually lost a place like that, that would not be good. So I have somebody pulling up here. Anyways, so again, if you weren't here in the very beginning, the point of this video is not to scare anybody. I think that most people realize that something massive is happening right under our noses, but most people are not actually knowing kind of the scale of this. This is happening all across the world. Australia changing its 16-year or 14-year plan with France to make those subs, to change over to make them and to get them right now. They needed nuclear subs this second, right now. They needed them out in the water as soon as they ordered them. It's very obvious that there is something massive right in front of us. At the same time, you have all of this confusion. You've got multiple countries, like Australia, if you haven't seen what's going on there, Germany, all of these different places are having all of these other things. And meanwhile, the average person is solely and utterly focused on that and really nothing else. So I guess if to try to sum this up, and I always forget things by the time I get off, I promise I will forget something that is of importance. I guess I'm hoping that people will actually start looking into what has happened back in November. We had several weird things. Flight Radar picked up all of these weird drills, all of these weird exercises that were not announced. These were, not publicized, but people could see them, plain as day. They weren't trying to hide it. Who knows? Maybe they were trying to do it. I saw one piece of a approved article that said that we were trying to do a show of force with our cargo planes. But one thing that tells me is that we are not, our Air Force is really actually going to have a super enemy here. We're not just talking about China. We're talking about China and Russia. We're talking about both. And if you saw the numbers that we put on our show the other day, them combined have a gigantic force. And in a lot of ways, you see that China now has the largest Navy. That's unbelievable. I don't know how that happened. You could say, oh, well, we have more carriers or we have more of this. Well, they have answers to that. In fact, we've had Pentagon officials resign saying that they're ahead of us in technology. We're now finding out that we're behind in hypersonics. In fact, our test went wrong. So, the thing that stopped, people from taking over and doing all these land grabs was mutually assured destruction. What if mutually assured destruction goes out the window? If that's gone, then what do we have left? We have two communist countries that are, this is like no joke. As far as if people don't see it and they think this is fear mongering, then I would say, then pay attention to other stuff. Like I would think that if you know something is coming and you have a good chance to prepare for it, that you'll be way better off, that you'll feel more confident, that you'll be happier. That's the thing. People should not be afraid of this. People should be confident and be looking at their situation. Just like if you knew a boat was sinking in 2 hours, you would start looking for lifeboats. You would start figuring out, what are you going to do? Okay, who's the best swimmer? Who can swim to land and grab something else by the time we get, sunk? It's like, you have to start looking at these things. We absolutely know. And by the way, there's more warnings that have just happened. We had a drone incident with our power grid, and then they told us, oh yeah, by the way, our power grid is a huge target right now. Not only that, they warned us upwards of 3 years ago that it was a huge target for everybody to get 6 months to a year of food. All of this you guys have already heard before. As far as the new stuff, this drone incident, I believe it was way bigger than you think. I believe that the Tennessee stuff or the Nashville stuff that happened, way bigger part of stuff than you guys all know. There's a lot of information here that is, just going by the wayside. So I apologize about being excited about this, because every time I'm excited, people go, no, just chill out. It's okay. Everything's going to be fine. At this point, it's like, how do people not see this? How do people not see? They're not making a mock version of Taiwan, and they're not loading all these boats. The U.S. is not doing all these drills. The Russia is not doing all these drills for them at the very end to say, oh no, we're just going to go home. They're going to take Taiwan. They're going to take Ukraine. But I guess the point is now is Will we step in? And the odds of this, it's like, look at their actions compared to their words. Their actions say that they are getting ready for a massive conflict. You've got Russia testing all of these new devices to take out satellites. You've got China testing the same. We had 3 space commanders. 2 just blatantly said that there is a space conflict going on above us. If that's not blatant enough, and if that's, if that's not fake news, that's approved and official narrative. And here's why I know that it's really scary, is because no one is actually putting that to the top of that's on the back burner. That's on the back page. The fact that these Space Force commanders, which everybody just kind of looks like, oh, it's Space Force, ha ha ha. Because, people make fun of Space Force. Those Space Force commanders were taken from high up positions in the Air Force. If it was an Air Force commander, they wouldn't be laughing. And I'm sure some people are actually listening to what those Space Force commanders. We had NORCON. We had Northern Command. We had, I want to say, the other Central Command, CENTCOM. NORCOM and CENTCOM, both, one of both of their leaders came out and said that this was on its way. And it's like, why aren't people listening? That's what I want to know. Why is this fear porn when they're telling you the world is ending some other way? That's not fear porn. But when you have obvious changes happening all in front of us, I mean, something bigger is going on here. And no, they're not being truthful with us. That's why I don't believe, we'll be told until last second. I would rather, even if it was a 1% chance, which that I would be praying for that. Even if it was a 1% chance of it happening, honestly, they're looking at it, they're preparing for it, they're getting ready for it. Why aren't we? Why are civilians so behind in this? Why are civilians so backwards thinking and saying that this is some sort of scare tactic? The links for a lot of this stuff, and again, Dex does all the website stuff. I'm not a website expert. I put some of them on Twitter. I've got way more. I've got 10 things that are connecting here. And I'm not reaching to grab dots. It's like there was something happen. It's like when we look out, I always say, when we looked out into space, right? Or this is supposedly what happened, where they saw all of these things in space pulling towards something. They could see that there was something there that the gravitational pull was pulling in, but they couldn't see the object itself. This is kind of like what's happening. It's like we see the event unfurling through the things around it. Everything around it is getting pulled in. All of the countries are preparing for this, and they're not telling us. Well, why would they? Right now, they're busy completely discombobulating the entire system. And I don't know who is the good guys and who are the bad guys. What I do know is that conflict is, one, good for business. Even if it's a world conflict, even if they wiped out stuff, people say, oh, well, why would China wipe us out? They have so much money invested in us. If China ends up being number one, it doesn't matter if they destroyed the stuff that they already invested in. They'll own that stuff. Who knows? They'll split it with Russia. I don't know. I know that Russia is doing all sorts of things underwater. You've got things going off of every coast, and you've got massive deployments. If you think I'm kidding, do some simple research. You'll see that all of the major publications put out pictures and nobody talked about it. You had carriers full of planes and jets all leave. Anybody that has military in the family, which if you don't know this channel, we had over 500 active and retired military people in our group. All of those people know family or they are deployed. People watch us on base. I never claim to have a crystal ball or to know the future, but I'm saying if you're watching a bad B movie and you can't tell that, you know, the person's going to run up the stairs or instead of out to their car to the open door, then it's like, obviously you don't know a bad B movie when you see one. All of the signs are very obvious, but then they'll print a line out and say, this is fact checked, and go, boom, this is the truth. And it totally contradicts what we are all clearly seeing. We're all clearly seeing this. And who knows what the end game is at this point. So I'm praying that I am wrong, but there's many of us seeing the same big picture. I've seen many people in the last few weeks step out, and they're putting themselves at risk to come out and say this. But it's like, what else are you going to do? These kind of things don't help with YouTube. They hurt. So I hope that people look at do some basic research and look at what has been going on with our Air Force, with everything. And by the way, the flight radar stuff, that's not every time I talk about it, people go, well, you're letting the enemy know where our planes are. First of all, everybody around the world can see this flight radar. So their experts are on it. And even if there wasn't flight radar, the other countries have satellites watching all of our military interactions and everything else. As far as the flight radar stuff, I think even the most hardened people that watch this 24/7, it's kind of like somebody who watches the ISS cam all day, every day, and sees something fly by and, you know, do a Z. It's like, oh, I caught something, and then the feed goes out. Those people know that zigzag was not normal. All the people watching flight radar saw that, and they knew it wasn't normal. At the very least, it was a massive drill that they didn't talk about. So you tell me what's going on. Give me your opinion. I appreciate each and every one of you. I honestly, I am down for you to change my mind. I am always learning. I am not a know-it-all. I don't know everything, but I do know enough military, and I know enough people. And obviously from running this channel, we get all variety of people. I guess our goal here is just to let people know this is a realistic thing. There's not, it shouldn't be something that is some sort of scary topic. People look at it like it's taboo. It should not be taboo. We should be talking about this. You should be able to talk to your family members, extended family members, and have a plan together, whether it be for conflict or whether it be for an earthquake. All of which we have like a rotating wheel of fortune that's about to stop on something. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, you're going to be affected if they go and do this. So I think everybody should be paying attention. And for those that say, oh, well, it's been happening for years. Yes, this is a long game. This is world domination. We're not talking about taking over, we're not talking about taking over a city block. We're talking about taking over countries. We're talking about the end game, the end and all, be all, deciding who is number one. And for those that think China is still behind, look at all of the information that has come out in the last 2 years. The facts say otherwise. And again, they're things that people aren't even talking about. There's U.S. government websites, there's committees being put together. There's already committees. The China Task Force. Everybody is saying it and nobody is listening. So anyways, love you guys. For those of you that did support, like Human Mail and everybody else, thank you guys. I appreciate that. Prepper, Prep Fam or Prep Farm, I will get you guys later, and I will make sure to shout you guys out on the next live stream on the next Marfoogle TV show. Thank you. Thank you guys for supporting us. Go to our website. It will be updated soon, marfooglenews.com. If you want to support Dex or I, go over there and, of course, use the website. It's free. Otherwise, if you want, on the right side, you can support us through any means necessary. Thank you, and I appreciate all of you. And again, not here to scare people. I'm just here to tell you things are heating up, and it's very clear. Which, by the way, them knocking out satellites and almost causing a gravity situation, all of these things are going to start piecing together. And if you look at that black hole that they say is not there, you'll start seeing everything around it connect. That's what people need to do. They need to look at all of the big picture and look in the middle. because it's all happening, and many people like myself are all seeing it. You guys see it. You're very, very smart. Some of the smartest people in the world are in this room right now, and that's because we're not paying attention to what they flash us to pay attention to. We're going outside the box. We're thinking new things. I hope I'm wrong. I sure hope I'm wrong. But again, the dates that we're actually getting, not from some YouTuber, but from multiple government agencies, is that this would go down in a couple months at most. So it makes sense that they're kicking up everything. They are saying, and by they, U.S. government, the Ukrainian government, they're trying to fast track their NATO membership. NATO is saying, all of these experts are saying, and then of course Russia literally has 3 different points with over 100,000, some now say 200,000 tanks, mobile hospitals, everything is set up. At the same time, China has been daily loading and unloading and loading and unloading commercial and military vehicles to get their massive, massive force over the sea, throughout planes, throughout everything else. And why are we testing all of these cargo planes? One, because we'll have to use them for other means, for shooting missiles and dropping missiles out the back, because we might be fighting the toughest fight we've ever fought. And another thing that this information should give you, it actually should make you somewhat happy to know that they are doing a lot of prep for this. And that as far as like the news says, it doesn't seem like they're taking it that seriously. A lot of us that are watching the back end, they see that. But this should make you feel better. They don't want to panic people, but they are doing, they're doing massive things to prepare for this. And that's a good thing. That should make you feel good, because the U.S. Army is nothing to mess with. And there are good people in the military. There are good people at the top, even, you know, right around the people that are calling our enemy and saying, hey, we're going to surprise attack you. There's things going on that are, there's corruption, there's all sorts of things, but there are good people out there, and we do have a badass military. So have a good night. Love all of you guys. Thank you. Be safe, be prepared. And again, all of the links and references from today, I will try to gather. There are already some on Twitter, @Marfugel, if you want to go follow me over there.